Hey Jackal! In this video I'll show you how to make this cool looking abstract visualizer in DaVinci Resolve that you can use as a background element, but you could also use it as an audio visualizer, and for that we'll be using a plane. Now let's get digital. So this is what the end result can look like. I've added an audio to this file, I've put an image as a background, and I've overlaid the effect on the top, and I've set the composite mode to add, but you can change the mode to anything that you want. And now let's make the visualizer. You'll open the media pool, right click, make a new fusion composition, give it a name if you want, and change the duration if you need. Once you have it, you will put this onto a timeline, and you can also put the image or the video beneath. Make this as long as you want, and then adjust the fusion composition to be the same length. Then select the fusion composition and go into the fusion page. Inside the fusion page, we'll first use the fast noise. So let's add the fast noise node. We can connect it to the media out. In the fast noise node, we'll be adjusting the detail. If you use this as an audio visualizer, we'll also be animating this with the plugin, but for now I'll just use this as max. Set the scale also to maximum, and if you want a little bit of animation, adjust the seed rate by a tiny bit. You can also max this out, but the animation will be super fast. So we can go with 0.1 for now, and you can also adjust these two options if you want a different kind of look. Now the fast noise node is a 2D node, and if we want to visualize this as hills and mountains, we need to put it in 3D space. So we'll use an image plane. We could also use the shape 3D node, as it also has the planes, and I may just want to do that only because it has the size option here in case I need it. Otherwise it's exactly the same. So I'll use the shape 3D node, connect the plane, I'll display it on the left side. Maybe I'll want to adjust the size, we'll see, but I do want to increase the subdivisions. And why is that? Well, we'll be using the wireframe, and if I enable it, by default it is 10 by 10. So I will set this to 40. In the intro, I've set this to 80. Currently, the fast noise node on the plane is head on, so you have to position this. So go to the transform and rotate the X by 90. Now we need a camera, so we'll be looking this at an angle. So add a camera. So we can actually see what we're doing. We'll have to render this out. Display it on the left side. Select the camera and position it down. In this case, what I'll do, I think I'll just use a merge 3D node. So this will go here and the camera will go here. Now the camera has disappeared, but it's basically on the same point as the plane, except it's pointing in that direction. So I don't have to do that much of an adjustment. So I'll position the camera back, up, and I will rotate it down using the X axis. Now the render 3D node is still displaying the fast noise as it was originally, just at an angle that the camera is pointing at. So if you want to see the wireframe, we'll have to change the type to hardware. Now we've lost a lot of information, but we do see the wireframe. It's just very thin. So I'll connect the render 3D to the media out for now. So this is now almost set. We just need one more point, and that is a displace node between here. So shift space, type in displace, and this will be displace 3D, like so and like so, and connect this to the merge. So this is what we have with the wireframe enabled. In the intro, I have disabled it. So this is how you can easily change the look from a solid to a wireframe. So at the moment, I'll just stick to solid. Now in the displays, you have a couple of options. Now because this is black and white, most of them won't have any effect, or at least they will affect it in the same way as Luma. You can adjust the bias. As you can see, it pretty much stays the same, at least for now. So if I want to make any changes, I'll be adjusting the scale. In this case though, I may need to adjust the camera a little bit if it's moving out of position. So I think it looks okay at the moment. We can go to the Shape 3D node, enable the wireframe to see what we have. It looks okay at the moment. So this is now it for the 3D composition. We just have to make it look a little bit nicer, and we'll do that at this point. The first thing that I'll do is I'll use Sharpen Edges. So Shift Space, Sharpen Edges. And you want to use this node if you use the wireframe in the Shape 3D node. So let's make some adjustments. So now you can see all of the edges. Without it, you don't really see those. And if you disable the wireframe and enable the sharpness, let's see what the difference is. We do have some more defined detail. And to see more of the edges, I will now enable the wireframe and add a glow node. In the glow node, what I will do is go to the apply mode and go with threshold and adjust the low value to maybe about 0.8. If you want to affect just the tips, you will be able to do so. It's just not visible when everything is white. So let's maybe adjust the color to something like that. So I think a value of 0.8 will be good enough. So only the very tops are affected by the glow and not the low points. And we can now put this back to how it was, to white, because we will be changing the color of those. And now the last thing that I've added was some blur, and I've used prism blur. But you can use any kind of blur that you want. So we have the aberration distance. And now once you use the blur, maybe you'll want to disable the wireframe to get something a little bit more nice looking. We can also add some vignetting, maybe something like that. And now we can also add a mask. I've used an ellipse. So that the front and the end is blurred out, but the center is not. So invert the selection and adjust the soft edge. So now this will be blurred out and this will be blurred out, but this will be the focus. Now everything is all white. We don't want that. After the prism blur, I will add a color corrector node. So add that. We'll simply be able to change the color, as you can see. And because we have the seed rate enabled, we do have some animation as is. Now what I have done to animate this was to go to the color corrector, keyframe this value, so hue and saturation. In this case, this is just about 22 seconds. So maybe I'll go to 10 seconds and change the color to this point. Now this will automatically change the color, as you can see. It's going round. After this point though, it will stay orange. So if I want to change it, so it continues moving round, I can go to the spline, click this, show only selected nodes. Now which values do I have to change? I think it was the tint angle, it is this one, and also tint length. So click on zoom to fit. As you can see, I do have two keyframes for both. I can select them like so, or I can press this button to select all points, and you can now adjust the animation. Do you want to have a ping pong effect? So it will go like this. If you set relative, it will just make a circle in the color wheel selection. And now one thing that I don't like is that this is still white. I also want to change the color of the edges. So I can go to the color corrector node, Ctrl C to copy, right click, paste instance, and now in this instance node, I will connect render to this node. So we have nice defined shapes. I will merge these two nodes together like so, connect it to the output. Now this node will be in the back because it has nice looking shapes, and this one will be in the front, but at the moment we have to adjust the glow values, maybe something like that. So now in the edit page we can simply adjust the image. In this case I would have to zoom in. We do have some see-through effect, as you can see, but you would still need to adjust the composite mode in my opinion to get something nicer looking, maybe luminosity, and you can always change the opacity. So now I have some cool looking background element, and to connect this to music, you download the Reactor plugin. You can look at my previous video how to use and install it, and you will need to install the WISA class audio. And once you have the music, I also showed you in the previous video how to take an MP3 file and export it as a WAV file inside DaVinci Resolve. So in the fast noise node, I will now be adjusting the detail. As you can see, if you lower it to 0, you don't see anything. So this is basically what we'll be doing, something like this. So I'll right click on the detail, modify width, modifiers. This is the audio wave plugin that you want. I'll go to the modifiers, put in a wave file. Everything is pretty much set. Maybe I would just need to adjust the amplitude, maybe to 2, something between 2 to 5. This will also depend on the audio file that you have. And what this amplitude scale does is it takes the value that this will give you and multiplies it by 2. And this value is seen here. As you can see, now it's jumping between 0 point something to maybe 1. If you want higher ridges, you will want to adjust this. And then we can also go into the displace node. What I've done previously, I've set this scale to 1 as it was, and I've adjusted the bias. And what does it look like with the wireframe enabled? Looks a bit too much. So maybe adjusting the amplitude scale, that would have to be set back to 1. And maybe at times this would even have to be maybe 0.5. And the last thing that we can do to spice it up just a little bit more is in the fast noise node. We can go to the angle. I'll go to the beginning. I'll keyframe the value. Maybe in 10 seconds this will do 60 degrees. Type in 60 and press enter. So now this will rotate slowly, as you can see. So to continue the animation on, as we've done with the color corrector node, I'll go to the spline, select the angle. I can click zoom to fit, just so I can see what it does. Select both points and set relative. And this will now continue to spin in the same direction for as long as the clip lasts. So you can now also extend this, and the animation will continue playing on. Now this is how the wireframe version looks like. Let's take a look at the solid one. Disable the wireframe, looks like this. And this is how it could look like. Now some colors look better and the others not so much. In this case I have some more definition, as you can see. What could the difference be? Let's take a look. So some adjustments in the prism blur. Let's see in the glow. Pretty much the same. Sharpen edges. but we can display the edges, so this is the difference that we have to enable. So display edges. Let's go back here, sharpen edges, and enable display edges. So this is a lot better, so we don't have all of the whites. Make some adjustments as you see fit. And this looks a lot better. Now how does it look like with the wireframe? And this looks a lot better with the displayed edges. And if we go now into the glow, this is what it would look like if we didn't adjust the threshold. So in this case, I do have to adjust the threshold if I want to have the glow not just on the very tops, but also on some of the bottoms. And this is how I can make an abstract plain audio visualizer in DaVinci Resolve. And if you found this video helpful and would want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. I'm Simon, and until next time, Jackal, keep it digital.